Hey there, everybody. Just finished watching the Wanted block of episodes for Steven Universe, and wow, that was an unbelievable 4 episodes. I am ecstatic that they did not try and split that up into 5 separate days because every one of those was just amazing and would have just left me screaming for the next episode, which I guess is the point, but I'm so glad that they didn't do it. And I'm glad that they ended it at the point that they did, which I'll get into. For right now, I just wanted to do just I did a reaction video for one of the older blocks. It was one of the older weeks, and the reason I did that was because I was so like after it was done, I just wanted to talk about it, and that's sort of what's going on right now. So this is going to be just a sort of reaction video. I just finished watching it maybe an hour ago. Like I put a few notes together, nothing serious, just a few talking points. But I'm gonna do this just really off the cuff. So forgive me if I get a few things wrong or I mix up a few facts. There's also going to be a couple of theories that I'm going to throw in there, just very simple theories, nothing really serious. But I mean, we're going to start with the first episode, which was stuck together. Oh, by the way, if you haven't watched them yet, obviously there's going to be some spoilers, so I would recommend that you hopefully you save this video and watch it after, but no matter what you do, I recommend you watch this after you watch those other episodes, because yeah, there are going to be some spoilers here. So we're going to start with the episode Stuck Together, which was the first one. This is when Steven and Lars are being transported and they're on the ship, and they get stuck inside a Topaz. The Aquamarine makes her, trap them again, like we saw before. And first off, I love that Lars and Steven are growing closer together. Lars has been kind of an annoying character for me, but I never disliked him. I felt like he was sort of annoying. One of the reasons I always thought that was because I feel like they're going to have some sort of development with him, and I'm just sort of eager for it to happen. I knew that there was going to be more to the character, and I'm glad that they're getting to that point, and it's starting with him and Steven growing closer together, just talking about how they feel and everything, and it plays so well into what is going on. So I'm glad that they started doing that. I love seeing them work together and, just sort of balance each other out. Steven likes that Lars is very real with him when it comes to how dangerous situations are, and Lars seems to like that Steven is kind of upbeat about everything. They're almost like opposites for each other, but that's what makes them work. And I like that, and I like that we got to see a lot of that. And I like that they got to see a lot of that. Moving on to Aquamarine, I love this character, but she's so much fun to hate, and I hate liking her. I normally don't like the characters that they feel unredeeming to me. These characters that they're just mean, and it doesn't seem like there's ever going to be a speech or something that makes us really like them. Normally I dislike that character. For some reason, Aquamarine, she's so horrible. Like, I kind of want to smack her, and at the same time, I wanna try and befriend her to see if it's possible to crack that exterior. She's just such a great character. Not as much as Topaz, though. I feel like Topaz was I was like welling up when she started talking, and you see how much she was affected by everything. And you knew that she wasn't going to be the strong, silent character for very long, but I wouldn't have been surprised if she was. So the fact that it was such a quick turnaround to see her all of a sudden, it's funny because what we saw from her, the way she felt, was the same sort of fusion-based caring and love and togetherness that we see from Garnet. Garnet doesn't want to be Sapphire and Ruby. She wants to be Garnet. I feel like what we saw today was that Topaz wants to be the Topaz fusion. That she doesn't want to be the two separate Topazes. That being together is the two of their way to express how they feel to each other. They can never put it into words, which is probably why she's so silent. But then to get to see, to know that when they're fused, now we know that when they're fused, they're at their happiest. And it adds some depth to the character rather than just being the muscle character. So I absolutely loved seeing that. I love that she tried to help them escape. I love that Aquamarine just sort of attacked her. Like it was such a great episode overall. I love the development of all these characters. And then we went right into the next episode, which was the trial, which had a massive revelation in it. This video is probably going to go on for a little while because I am going to talk about a couple of the theories here. First of all, Zircons were hilarious. I thought that they were great. We got to see some very interesting developments here. We got to see a lot of just interaction between the characters, and we got to see a Blue be a little more vicious. I had a feeling something was going on though when Yellow just kind of wanted it over, and that made me think that there was something more going on. By the way, I love the appearance of Eyeball. That was great, which was very interesting because she had mentioned before that she saw it with her own eye. So I'm wondering how much we've been wondering for a while how much she actually saw, whether she was just making it up or whether she was actually there. It's clear now that she wasn't there. I feel like they've established that. The big question now is, did Yellow shatter Pink? To me, I feel like she did. I feel like there is a lot of evidence there that she did, which of course they can turn into anything that they want. It could be not the case. It could be that there was, she said there was someone in her court that did it, which could have been her own Pearl. If so, where is her Pearl? It could have been her court could have turned against her because they were swayed by Rose Quartz. So Yellow could possibly have not had anything to do with it. But she was very adamant about ending everything immediately. Right down to the point of poofing the two Zircons so that they didn't see what was coming next. So I feel like there's a lot to be said there. In which case the question is, why did she do it? She might have done it for control. A big working theory right now is that White Diamond, who we haven't seen yet, is a fusion of the three diamonds. That would mean that White Diamond is in charge. However, if one of the diamonds shattered one of the other diamonds and they could never form White Diamond again, they'd be the ones in charge. So it's entirely possible that Yellow did it so that they couldn't form White Diamond anymore. Which is interesting because I said in another video where it might be possible to reform, if that is the case, it might be possible to reform White Diamond with a pink Rose Quartz. Or just the Rose Quartz. Since Rose Quartzes were Pink Diamond's personal soldiers, they might have a bit of her essence in there. The end result of all of this, of the whole show, could actually be that Yellow, Blue, and Steven form and reform White Diamond. That to me would be a very interesting development. But that it could be for control. As weird as it sounds, it could be that she loves Blue Diamond. Maybe she loves Blue Diamond and Blue and Pink had such a close relationship that she shattered her to sort of get her out of the way. I know that that's a bit Jerry Springer for this show and for Homeworld, but it would be an interesting turn. I think it would be an interesting turn. I feel like it's one of those things where everybody would say, no, that's absolutely not what's going on. So it's the last thing you would expect. I just want to know what she's hiding. If she did have an ulterior motive, if she did have a reason to do this, Could Pink have known about it? Could all of this have been a result of the fact that Yellow was conspiring against Pink, and Pink and Rose had to come up with something to combat this? Could Pink and Rose have faked Pink Diamond's death to keep Pink Diamond safe? You know, I did a video where we talked about, was Pink Diamond actually shattered and where is she? My theory was that she could be hiding in the geode, which we saw very early on and haven't seen again. You know, it was an issue with it once, and then we saw it again at one point. Could she be hiding in there in a way to protect her from Yellow Diamond? So she's not shattered at all, and the story was that everybody had to believe that she was. I feel like we've touched on a very major plot point here that might be the next big arc, but is probably big enough to be the final arc. So when the show finally ends, this could be the conflict that we deal with. All right, but we're gonna move on. We're gonna move on to the next episode, which was OffColors, which was Steven and Lars finding an abandoned kindergarten with a bunch of off-color gems in it, who were just hilarious. I thought that some of these gems were great. But again, we got to see a lot of interesting things here. First of all, I wonder how long they've been there. You know, we've been led to sort of believe that the first multi-gem fusion was Garnet, where, you know, everybody was surprised that they saw her and they thought it was an abomination. So I'm wondering if these gems were after Garnet or even before Garnet. You know, that's interesting, because could they have formed after Garnet, after hearing what happened and realizing that it was even possible? You know, I want to know how long they've been there and what their role was initially. That, because if they were born, they most likely weren't born alone. You know, so what happened that got them separated but not shattered? You know, what was the situation behind them? They may be side characters, so we're probably not going to see a whole lot of backstory for them, but it doesn't mean that I'm not interested in it. It just means that we're not going to see it. I absolutely love Padparasha. I don't know how to. I think that's how they pronounced it. Was the gem that she could only tell the past. So all of her predictions were late. It got a little irritating by the end, but it was hilarious to just have her just blurt out something that happened 10-20 seconds ago. I'm interested though, because if she can tell the past, is it possible that she can see with visions things that we don't actually know? You know, could she see in the past? And, you know, the gag was that she could see the future, but it was too late. But what if the reality is that she can see the past? So now she is a gateway to seeing things that have happened that no one else has seen. She may actually be a wealth of information. Again, we might not see that much of her, but it's an interesting thought. They mentioned when they were talking that they thought the Earth was destroyed. They thought that it was in ruins. I'm curious if the Diamonds and the Diamond Authority and the leadership is propagating that idea, or if they're just not saying anything about it, and that's just what everybody thought. You know, are they telling the rest of Homeworld that Earth doesn't exist anymore, possibly because they don't want anybody to try and go there? You know, this was the home base of Rose Quartz and the Rebellion. If more gems went there and found out that they could live more freely, this could start a second uprising. You know, this could start some sort of a mass migration to the Earth, and they don't want people to know that. So I'm wondering if there is a reason behind it, or if they're not saying anything and people just sort of assumed over all this time, well, we haven't heard anything from the Earth, it's destroyed. So I'm curious to see if that's something that they're making everybody believe. I was pretty shaken up over the near death of Lars. I thought that the show was going in a very dark direction, and I can't honestly say that I didn't believe it. If there was that split second where, when that sort of thing happens, certain shows you watch and a character is quote unquote dead, and you 100%, nah, that's not going to happen. Something's going to happen to bring him back or something like that. I wasn't entirely sure that was going to happen right now. I mean, obviously it didn't last long, but it was a bit of a shock to think, oh my God, he's, even if it was for a brief time, he was actually dead, which was a pretty intense scene and a pretty intense topic to discuss, which I think is the whole point of the show, is that it's getting very, it's been intense for a while. I hate to say that it's getting intense, but it always sort of feels like they run these episodes where they're talking very seriously about what's happened, and then they bring it back with some filler episodes with some very lighthearted goofiness, and then the next time they get serious, it almost seems like it's more so. We got to see some interesting, in the episode The Trial, the one before this one, Steven mentioned the breaking point, and Blue Diamond mentioned that it was a sword. They had some information about it, and she said it, the way she reacted, it was a very intense reaction, and you got to understand, she was sad because Pink Diamond died, but what we got to see from that was a very serious reaction, because she'd been carrying that with her. She doesn't just think, oh, Pink Diamond died. She's got a vision in her mind of what happened, and that's kind of intense. So it's amazing to just see how the serious tone that the show takes sometimes. We're gonna jump to the last episode here, which is Lars's head and the lion revelation, which is that's what I'm gonna call it. When OffColors ended, I had a feeling he kind of looked different. Lars looked a little different. When he woke up and we saw the pink hair and the pink skin, it was immediate that we had seen this before. And it's actually a big thing that this is happening, because this actually removes an old theory. One of the theories was that Pink Diamond was actually Lion, that she changed her form to hide herself. So now we know that that's not the case. Now what we know is that Lion was part of those other lions, had died, and was brought back with Rose's power, and now has this ability. So now we have Lars, who has, I am a massive fan of major character development. And this is the kind of character development I'm talking about. When you go to the first seasons and you see Lars, and you're going to see this character that you've seen for so long, and to know that the fate that's in store for him is so big. I love that kind of character development. And that's what we're getting here. And, Lars was always sort of an character for me. I love him now. I cannot wait to see another episode with Lars, because I know we're going to get something just awesome. We're going to get something storyline related. We're going to get a cool character that has grown beyond his fears and his sort of self-doubt, and has become such a much better character. So I can honestly say right now, I can't wait for another Lars episode. That also brings up a very interesting point about the lion dimension. This occurrence. This is we were under the impression, or at least I was under the impression, that inside Lion's Mane was a pocket dimension that specifically existed there. What this means is that this is a dimension that probably existed in one form or another, and now is accessible through another portal. And that raises an interesting question. How many more portals are there? Rose Quartz was known for reviving her soldiers in battle. Now for gems, that probably just means healing the gems. But if she healed any human character, any human fighters, if she healed animals, which obviously she did that with Lion, how many more entrances and exits are there to this pocket dimension, to the Lion dimension, which is what I'll just call it for now? I wonder how much access this is going. Did she do this on other worlds? If they go into the Lion dimension, where else can they possibly leave from? This is very interesting, and this you'll excuse the pun, but this literally opens a lot of doors. I want to see the new OffColors on Earth, and I wonder if we will. Obviously, they have access to the Earth now. That's one thing that all of this says, is that they wanted to come here. They wanted to come to Earth, so they have access to the Earth. So the crystal gems now have access to more. They're not really warriors, but these other gems can now show up on Earth and provide help. This is more help than the crystal gems have had in a long time. Between Peridot and Lapis, and Steven's an actual fighter now. They've got human fighters, in the way of Connie anyway. They've got, if Lars can get back to Earth, Lars is definitely another source of power, which I have a feeling we're only at the beginning of Lars's power, because they were trying to figure out how to get back to Earth. Lion has the ability to make his own portals. So we may just be at the beginning of Lars's powers. Sorry to go back to Lars there. But this is more help and a stronger fighting force than the crystal gems have had in thousands of years. So I'm interested to see what role they'll play. In the reverse, the crystal gems now have a direct link to Homeworld. It's possible for them to go through the Lion dimension and get back immediately on the Homeworld. Who's to say what kind of help they can gather in that? Homeworld believes that the Earth is in ruins, and they most likely believe that the crystal gems have all been destroyed, which we saw from Peridot. She when she first communicated with Steven on the big screen, I think it was in one of the kindergartens. She was surprised to hear the name crystal gems. The biggest likelihood is that Homeworld believes that they were destroyed. So when they hear that they're alive still, that there is still a fighting force, and that there is still I guess you would say that there's a rebellion still going on. I wonder what Homeworld will think of that. And now the crystal gems have a direct pipeline back to Homeworld to gather some support. So I wonder if I worry that this is the beginning of the end of the show, but it seems like it very well could be, because of the developments that are now open to us. My last point is, sorry for keeping you so long. My last point is going to be that someone on Twitter said that the problem was that it felt like a cliffhanger. And to be honest, I don't think it did. I think it was a cliffhanger in the sense that obviously there's going to be more story to tell. But what it felt like to me, when cliffhangers are done properly, what I feel like I'm getting is not a cliffhanger. It is progression, character development, storyline development. I don't feel like a cliffhanger is sort of like a hokey gimmick. It always feels gimmicky to me to have a cliffhanger, to have someone dangling from somewhere, which was probably, that's literally a cliffhanger, but to have some sort of are characters in a dangerous situation that needs immediate resolution, and they make us wait until the next episode or the next block of episodes. That to me is a cliffhanger. What I felt here was progression in the storyline. I don't feel, yes, Lars is left on Homeworld with these new lion powers and these other off-color gems. But that's not a situation that needs to be immediately resolved. That situation, in its own sense, that situation is resolved. I wouldn't mind an episode where we go back and we see what happens right after, but we don't need it. If anything, my expectation is that the next time that we see Lars and the off-color gems, what we're going to see is a version of them months later, where they have established a new place to live, where they have established how they're going to live, what they're going to do, possibly even gathering other people to help them. Find it, I would like to see them as a group searching for other abandoned kindergartens for other off-color gems, developing a new rebellion on Homeworld. And not even to be incredibly dangerous, but mostly just spreading the idea of living freely and being able to be who you are, which is a major point of this show. So it's interesting to see what's going to happen, but it's not immediately necessary. Steven came back. Obviously, that's not a cliffhanger. He's fine. He's going to tell everybody what happened, but that's, none of that is, we absolutely need another episode to explain all of that. So what I feel like we got here was the perfect version of a cluster of episodes, which gave us huge amounts of story. And in the end, we are now capable, we're now able to relax, to absorb all of this information. Think about what happened, make goofy reaction videos, come up with brand new theories, because I feel like we're going to hear some pretty cool theories about yellow, blue, and pink, about what the future of Homeworld is, what the future of Earth is, what the future of Steven is. We're going to hear some really cool stuff, and we need time to absorb that. And these episodes were perfect food for thought when it comes to the Steven Universe world, which has already been amazing, and it's just only getting better. I want to thank you guys for joining me. Like I said, I hope that you didn't hear this first and then you're going to go watch the episodes. I definitely hope that you watch the episodes first. But even if you did, thank you for joining me for this. Thank you for listening to my ramble. Let me know what you thought just about the episodes and where we're going from here. I would, definitely appreciate it if you go and check out some of my other videos for some of the Steven Universe theories and all. Other than that, have a good night, guys. Take care, and man, just go do what I'm gonna do and sit down and rewatch it and just love it all over again. Thanks.